Hey folks, it's Cement once again, and continuing my journey into the 1980s. And this time I get to The Awakening. I think this is the last of the A's of 1980. And The Awakening, weirdly enough, is directed by a guy named Mike Newell, who went on to direct Four Weddings and a Funeral, Donnie Brasco with Al Pacino and Johnny Depp, Pushing 10 with John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton, one of the Harry Potter films, and the Prince of Persia movie. Directed this film, which is actually based on Bram Stoker's novel, The Jewel of the Seven Stars. Wanted to get that right. It was filmed two times before, a 1970 TV movie called The Curse of the Mummy, and a 1971 film called Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. But yeah, this film stars Charlton Heston, of course, Charlton Heston from Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, The Omega Man, The Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur. You have Susannah York, who was in the old Superman movies. Really what this film is, it's a dull, slow Egyptian version of The Omen, but without a lot of the cool kills. It really does feel like The Omen, just Egyptian style. I mean, that's really what it should be titled, The Omen Egyptian style. I mean, even to the ending, where you have the father and their daughter, but this time an 18-year-old daughter instead of a little boy son, and instead of getting shot by cops, he got tricked and some fucking rocks fell on him. I know I just spoiled the ending, but The Awakening is even a shitty title because you're probably not going to be awake while watching the movie. I mean, The Awakening is what you need to do to stay. You need to try to do to watch the flick. I know I've watched a couple films, and I usually say the same thing. I think I even repeated this in another video, that a lot of these older movies are dull and slow. But this is coming from a guy, I love Alien. I love Jaws. Those are not action-packed movies either. But they're just good films. And even films like Altered States and Alligator. It's just, you also have some clunkers. I mean, I'm not alone. This gets a 4.9 on IMDb. There's another one that's another boring film, Blood Beach, which I'll talk about that. It gets a 4.3. I mean, there's a reason for this. Charlton Heston is an archaeologist. He tries to have an English accent, but at times he fucking loses it. So, I mean, Charlton Heston, I liked him as an actor. You know, may he rest in peace. Remember him he was in True Lies, a bit part, and In the Mouth of Madness, in a bit part. But again, he's trying to have an English accent, then he loses it at times. It's not one of his best performances, but he's also one of the only decent things in the film. The other, and weirdly enough, they must have known him because it's the first credit that pops up, is a thank you to Egypt. That's the first credit of the movie. Special things go to the Egypt and places in Egypt. Because the locations are nice. I mean, you see real pyramids and the tomb and some nice interiors of the tomb. That's pretty much all the positives you don't get out of it. I mean, we first see a silhouette that reminds me of Indiana Jones, which I know this came out before Raiders of the Lost Ark. But you see the silhouette of a guy and the sun and the sand just going back and forth. I'm like, I'd rather watch Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indy's doing that and people are digging for the Ark of the Covenant. Which, again, I know that came out after this, but it just reminds me of a better movie. Charlton Heston, he's got a pregnant wife, but she's pissed because he's spending more time with his assistant, played by Susannah York. And Charlton Heston, his assistant, are looking for this tomb of this queen called Queen Kara. And pretty much Charlton Heston and Susannah York find the tomb. They open the tomb. And once in a while, there's some decent editing. For example, this sequence where it's cutting between them opening the tomb and then the wife, pregnant wife, in another location outside, going in the pain, premature labor, and them cutting more into the tomb, then cutting back to her. A lot of looking inside the tomb, and there's some nice hieroglyphics and such, but you can watch The Mummy with Brendan Fraser if you want to see that, or you watch a lot. I mean, some alright scenery. I mean, you watch the scene in Waxwork. It's shorter and it's much better. Charlton Heston goes back, finds his wife. Oh shit, take her to the hospital. Wife's catatonic. And then this is where, that's another thing with Charlton's character. I don't really care for him. But the movie's like, the movie kind of, not kind of, it knows this is wrong as well. So that's the point of the character, I guess. But still, he asks the doctor, is there anything I can do? And leaves his pregnant wife, who just got into premature labor, who's catatonic, leaves her to go back to the dig with Susannah York so they could fuck around on the tomb. But again, the inside of the tomb was very nice. But it's just like, man, this guy's an asshole. I mean, if I'm a husband and my wife is catatonic and my baby is dead, alive, I don't know, I'm not going to fucking leave. But that's the point, is that he's obsessed and it leads to a divorce. And I'll get to that. So that's the point. But still, it just makes you not like the character. Charlton Heston's character is kind of an asshole. Not much to like about him. And him and Susannah York open the sarcophagus, and at this point the baby is stillborn. And some decent editing where it cuts back to them opening it, and then the baby starts to breathe. So, nice juxtaposition of what's going on. And Charlton Heston thinks he sees some fingers on the mummy move, but pretty much that's where we get our first death, because a little time passes by, people find out about the tomb, and they're lifting something up, and this one guy's like, no, you can't take this out of Egypt, and blah, 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 and yelling at Charlton Heston. And then that same guy gets a rope wrapped around his neck, pulled until what's a dummy is hung, and then falls off the cliff and rolls off. And it doesn't help that you can easily see it was a dummy, and it's not a gory scene either. But that's sort of the first of the Omen type of deaths. And wife leaves with her baby, leaves Charlton Heston. We're like, I don't blame her. I don't blame her, because and even afterwards, she's like, hey, I want to see my parents. Will you go with me? And he's hesitating, so he doesn't really give a shit about his wife and baby. Who, again, his baby was, I would think the doctors probably told him that, your baby was stillborn for a while. I would think if their doctor's worth of shit. So yeah, sad Heston, and then it's 18 years later. And Heston has a beard, a mustache, he's a professor. And once again, some Omen tendencies, like the daughter's 18 years old, at a zoo, looks at an animal, and the animal's uneasy looking at her. Just like animals were to a little boy in the Omens. The same shit. And Charlton Heston is called up because the sarcophagus, there's a decay going on, and some guy is fucking with him because he wants to bring it from Egypt back to London, and this guy argues with him, and he walks out into the street and gets run over. And it's not much to it. Pretty much a car going decently slow, and the guy, oh, and then flips over, And then you see a car coming, and then sort of cuts away. Nothing like The Omen, where you had the fucking glass and the head, where the deaths in The Omen too, like the elevator, which is apeshit crazy. I mean, at least those had that stuff going on. This was just very dull. And there's not many kills. I mean, it's those two and about 3, technically 4 more, I guess. And there's only like 1 or 2. And I'm like, okay, which I'll get to. Because there's not much else to say about this movie, honestly. I mean, the whole theme with Charlton Heston and from the beginning to 18 years later with the stillborn baby, that's 35 minutes of the movie. And the movie's an hour and 40 minutes. And pretty much the mom doesn't want her daughter to go see her dad, Charlton Heston. She's like, I got to. It's watching him teach. And invites her over to dinner with him and Susannah York. And he pretty much tells a story that's going to be the ending of the film. About how Queen Kara hated her dad and killed her dad by, quote, crushing her father to death. And then she slaughtered all who spoke to her father. It must have been killed thousands. Which, that's what the ending pretty much is. Charlton Heston takes his daughter to Egypt to see the tomb. We had heard that Queen Kara, back in the day, had some incest going with her father. So in this part, she kisses Charlton Heston, which right off the bat, Heston should have been, what the fuck's going on? But I don't know if he was under a spell or he's getting fucked up or something. And then the guy that's with them, one of the only decent deaths that's like okay is a trap comes out with a sword on it and stabs the guy, and then cuts to a guy, blood spilling on the camera, and the trap going in. Oh, I just like traps. I guess that's why I like traps. And oh shit, a guy got stabbed and something happened. Death that is, it's alright. And then Charlton Heston almost gets stabbed by that, but just barely misses it. And during that, finds the jars that contain Kara's organs. And you see that Charlton Heston getting obsessed. And the transition of this doesn't really work. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of The Omen, right? But the transition I bought more because the deaths were so much more extreme, and it was done in this little innocent boy, other than an 18-year-old girl, 18-year-old teenager. And I mean, by this point, there's only been about two deaths. No, 3. The guy got run over, but no wonder I forgot. There was nothing. Then the guy at the beginning with the rope, and then this guy. But him going from there to believing that this is supernatural going on didn't really work for me. I'm like, this seems like a leap of faith for Charlton Heston's character to go from point A. So he went from point A to point B without B and C. Because the next scene is some guy with astrology, and that lets Charlton Heston go and call his wife and say, oh, those stuff that I just brought back, like 5 minutes, movie-wise, 5 minutes ago, smash them. And I just don't buy the transition. And I'm like, it felt false to me. It felt, was there shit missing? Did I miss something because I fell asleep? Which I must have fell asleep with my eyes open, because I know my eyes were open during the whole thing. That could be the case. And the wife, Susannah York, tries to smash, is going to get to it, but there's a golden snake there, and she hears hissing, and some wind, and then she just seemingly pushed off a balcony. Then she's groggy, and then a piece of glass falls and lands in her neck. Which I know I've seen that in plenty of movies before, the glass fall into the neck, and I could just watch those movies. Yeah, the funeral. And then once in a while there's an awkward cut. Like, once in a while there's some decent editing, but once in a while there's some, like, the funeral ends, and then immediately it's the daughter, 18-year-old, doing like this, and then an unconscious Charlton Heston being dragged by her mind, and he has like a cut, like a handcuff, like a, not a handcuff, but manacle, whatever the hell it was, and then a key, and then it cuts to him, Charlton Heston, being bandaged up, and oh, you don't remember anything? I'm like, how did you get from the funeral to all of a sudden now they're at home and he's unconscious, and why did he have the thing on his wrist, and did I miss something, and what was he trying to do? And I felt like a scene missing. I'm like, what? And then this woman is supposed to be that she's not completely taking control from the Egyptian woman, curse. She's kinda, and she'll say lines a la, don't feel like me anymore. But we haven't really established what she is normal well enough to feel sorry or even realize, well, is she in on it from the beginning? But we're told and shown by default in a way that no, she's only halfway controlled, I guess. And she's talking to a psychiatrist, and then the guy has his needle, the sedator, and she goes caveman on his ass by letting him land on the needle and just which is weird to see this woman, go cave girl on his ass. And then she's in the hospital, and then the mom's there, and then Charlton Heston is there. And Charlton Heston talks with this guy who's kind of, I forget who the hell he was actually. He was that remarkable. And then immediately Charlton Heston's, oh, I gotta take you, daughter, to the museum. We're gonna perform this ritual because I guess to perform the ritual with the jars, the organs, to, I guess he thinks is going to take the curse out of her and into the mummy, I guess. And then he's doing the ritual, and then he realizes too late he's been tricked because he's punching the remains of the mummy with his fist, looks up, and then his daughter is full Egyptian mode, and a couple rocks, and a sarcophagus kind of lands on Charlton Heston, and he dies. Maybe he fainted to death because of the rocks. And then pretty much the Egyptian bitch walks out, and wind blows, and you see a shadow of her, and the movie ends. Which I guess is supposed to go to that story before where she, Queen Kara back in the day had killed her father, crushed him to death. Just like Charlton Heston crushed to death. Although it looked like just a bunch of rocks just fell on him. I mean, hell, his wife, Susannah York, took more of a fall and still lived. It's just the glass that came after her, but a couple rocks, Charlton Heston's dead. I'm like, that's lame. Just very lame death, to be honest. And Charlton Heston has a shitty luck in these movies. I mean, Planet of the Apes, they screaming, you maniacs! And then the sequel, he's dead. Omega Man, he's dead. Earthquake, he's dead. This one, he's dead. He just has shit luck in a lot of these sort of genre movies. Soylent Green, I don't remember if he died. He might have died. I can't remember the ending of Soylent Green. Other than the line, Soylent Green is people. But I don't remember if he died in that. He might have. But I guess that she's going to go out and kill anyone who hit her, the father talked to, I guess. And then, like, what happened to these other characters? Like, what happened to the guy who's the associate of Charlton Heston? The last time we see him is while Charlton Heston's doing the ritual at the museum. The guy goes in Charlton Heston's house, sees that the safe is empty, looks at a statue. We hear dog growling, and then it cuts to outside and a light turning off. What happened to the guy? Is he dead? Did he say fuck you and went to bed? What happened? Also, the mom. What happened to the mom? Did she fall asleep at the hospital? Because that's the last time I saw her. Did she go back home and say, fuck this, I'm done? Did he run out of money to pay her? And you can't come back for the ending, lady. You can't come back. We ran out of money. So what happened to her? I mean, it's a mess. It's dull. It's boring. That's really its worst sin. It's boring. Charlton Heston, I like him as an actor, but it's not really the most likable character. I don't really care for the character, to be honest. Susannah York doesn't have much to work with. It's pretty much Egyptian Omen movie, only without the really cool deaths. Or I know I think my friend Mike. I thought I read a post that he liked the store. The store I don't even remember. To be blunt, I don't remember the store. It was just, other than a couple Egyptian settings and inside the tomb, which is kind of cool to look at, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and there's a trap that killed a guy, and the trap had a sword on it. Those are the only two things I remember from this movie. So I mean that says a lot, I guess. But yeah, The Awakening. If you need a good sleeping pill, maybe. If you're a really hardcore fan of Charlton Heston, and you need to see anything that Charlton Heston's in, perhaps you do that. Yeah, perhaps for that reason. But yeah, I will never see this film again. But hey, Charlton Heston, got to see it. Pretty shitty, but now I'll cross it off the list. And the next one will be Battle Beyond the Stars, which I know I do like that movie more than this. Yeah, Battle Beyond the Stars is pretty decent. It's got a great score by James Horner. And it's got a spaceship with tits. Literally, the spaceship has a pair of tits. So, automatically, those two things make it better than anything in this movie. So, The Awakening, stay the fuck away. Watching this movie will be a test. Thanks for watching. Take care. Stay tuned for more reviews. Probably tomorrow. See you later.